My name is JT Monishagan. I'm the police chief of the Lake Worth Police Department. With me is Chief Ryan Arthur, who is the fire chief of the Lake Worth Fire Department. We're here to give you a brief update on the plane crash that occurred in our city earlier this morning. Our office, our communications center, received a call at 10:53 this morning in reference to a downed military aircraft between the 4000 block of Tejas and Dakota. Our police units responded, and initial units reported that one pilot had ejected and was caught in some power lines, and another pilot had ejected and was found in the neighborhood nearby. As you can imagine, the officers summoned additional emergency responders. The fire department responded along with our partners at MedStar. We've also relied heavily on our neighboring agencies for assistance throughout this ordeal, and that includes MedStar, EMS, the Fort Worth Fire Department, the Fort Worth Police Department, the Tarrant County Constable's Office. Tarrant County Emergency Management is on scene assisting us as well, along with the Texas Emergency Management Office. So regarding the specifics of the incident and what's taking place at the scene, I'm going to turn you over to Chief Arthur to address that, and then we'll stick around for a few minutes to address any questions that you may have. So Chief Arthur.
Thank you very much. Like Chief Monishagan said, I am Chief Ryan Arthur, the fire chief here in Lake Worth. Just to bring you up to speed on a little bit of what's transpired since we were notified of the incident. There are 3 homes involved. Fortunately, nobody was injured. No resident was injured. The 2 pilots have been transported to the hospital. We do have tremendous amount of support from our local fire department organizations and police department organizations from Fort Worth, Saginaw, the Navy Air Station, Lockheed Martin, including Tarrant County Emergency Management. Great support from them. This incident could have been much worse, knowing that this plane went down in a residential area here in Lake Worth. So, as I mentioned, we're still on scene with our partners, like I mentioned with Fort Worth, basically going through the scene, working with NCIS and the Navy Air Station and Lockheed Martin to ensure that all the items are photographed, and then moving on from there. As I had mentioned, the 3 residents, 3 homes that were involved, we do have Red Cross on scene for them, so we are getting assistance to those residents impacted. Is there any questions that I can answer, and pretty much open it up right now to any type of questions that the media may have for the fire department?
Being so close that you are to the Naval Air Station, and the police chief was showing us a moment ago about the map about identifying potential crash zones so close on landing and takeoff. Is this something you've practiced for before, anticipated, or worked with NAS to? Yes, sir.
We do. It is a drill and a training exercise we do on a very regular basis. That, in fact, through our Office of Emergency Management, that is one of our highest priorities. Other cities in Texas, it could be natural disasters such as tornadoes and even the ice storm. But for us, it is a downed military aircraft, since we are in such a unique position.
Were you able to talk to the pilots at the scene? Were they able to say anything about how the accident happened, about why they had to eject, or what went wrong with the plane, anything like that?
Not at this time, no, sir.
And have there ever been any other aircraft crashes in that accident potential zone?
I can't be specific. I may have to ask, we can ask Chief Monishagan to come up to answer that. In my time here, no, this has not happened before.
And just for clarity, when you say the pilots ejected, did they remove themselves from the plane?
Correct.
Or what is it, the result of the crash that they?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Which is correct. They removed themselves.
That's right.
Okay,
They
gotcha.
did.
Understand that power is out. Any idea how long that'll remain?
I would speculate, and this is strictly speculation, it may be a few days. The biggest thing is get the wreckage and the items out of the area before they can re-secure power and really utilities to any of those homes.
And with that, outside of the 3 homes, how much of the community is impacted by this, whether power outages or in that particular area?
I would say roughly a 2 to 3 block area is going to be impacted surrounding that immediate location.
I'm unfamiliar with this area. How many residents are we talking about there?
Probably roughly 60 to 70 residents.
Any advisory to the community who may be in that immediate zone right now?
The big thing for us is safety, making sure that everybody stays out of that location. We do have barriers up throughout the area. Please stay out of that area. It's going to be hazardous for now until we get the debris cleaned out. That would be the biggest thing that I can provide to the residents here in Lake Worth.
Are there any schools or hospitals affected by it?
Not at this time.
Did you say what type of plane that was?
I can't comment.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And just for perspective in what the emergency teams are dealing with in that area right now.
Sure.
The plane, did it crash? You said it crashed in a residential area. Are we talking
Correct.
about a field, or what did it crash into the homes?
Fortunately, it wasn't the actual home. It was a little bit of damage has occurred to all 3 residents, but actually it's in a backyard. That fortunately, again, that is one of those that we can say that's very fortunate that it could have been a lot worse if it would have been a direct contact into a residence. Fortunately, that's not the case. We did have some damage that occurred from, I would speculate, maybe wings or other debris that caused the damage to the homes. But as I mentioned, it could have been a lot worse, for sure.
And is there any military representative here who can tell us a little bit about what the mission was this morning, or have they shared that information with you?
I am unfamiliar with that, but I do believe we do have some.
Speak to that in just a minute.
We do have some, and we can share that.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Do you know anything about the pilots, other than their conditions currently?
No, that's all the information I can provide right now. Chief Montefiore?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just a couple things that I wanted to share with you. First is that our hearts go out to these military members and their families. I'm not a pilot, but I am a veteran, along with Chief Arthur and many of the others in the room. And I would imagine that for a pilot, this is the day that you dread, that you hope never comes. And so for them and their families who've experienced that worst day, we just want them to know and their families to know that our thoughts and prayers are with them. And for all of our service members, this is going to have an impact on our local community because we are a military community. So we just want to know that we as first responders, we as the city of Lake Worth are standing with you and support you through this. Speaking to the schools and hospital question that you had, this crash location is a block away from N.A. Howery Middle School, but I've been in contact with the school staff, and we do not expect school operations to be affected tomorrow. We believe that we'll be able to collapse this perimeter enough that the majority of the roadways will be open and that school should be able to go on as planned for tomorrow. Any other questions?
Oh, you were going to speak to what the mission was this morning,
Yes, so there are multiple military representatives on the scene from NAS Fort Worth. We have representatives from the Air Force and the Navy on scene. I think they're working collaboratively to work through this incident. Exactly what the mission is, we're not privy to that. So we'll just have to get you in touch with them to explain that. We do know that it's a training jet. So it wasn't a prop plane, it was a jet. Exactly what model and what the training mission was, we can't say. There was a question about ejection. This was a jet, so this is the traditional ejection seat where the canopy comes off and the pilots are ejected in a seat. And that is the parachute that got caught up in the power lines that when our officers arrived on scene, that's what they observed was the pilot in the parachute caught in the power lines.
What should people do if they find debris? I guess debris was scattered around the area, so people might
Yes, sir.
come across something.
Yes, sir. So that's a wonderful question. If a resident were to find any debris, we ask that they not touch it, that they leave it in place, specifically the ejection seats. Now, we have officers that are on those ejection seats, but we've been advised by the military that there is a chance that there could be unexpended ordnance in those seats. And so we need the public to maintain a 100-foot perimeter away from them just to ensure that they're safe. But Our federal partners will be coming into the neighborhood to catalog and collect all of that debris, and that debris will help paint a picture of what happened. So we need the public to leave that alone. If you have any questions, if it's blocking your car, anything like that, give us a call. We'll get you connected with the right people, and we'll try to get somebody over there to catalog it so that it can be moved and you can go on about your life.
So just call 911.
Please don't call 911 because it's not an emergency. We would be happy to field their call on our non-emergency line, which is 817-237-1224.
And can you repeat that one more time?
Sure, 817-237-1224. That's the Lake Worth Police Department Communication Center non-emergency line. Anything else? Okay, real quick, staff, is there anything that we missed that we need to get out?
No, sir.
No? Okay, so obviously this is going to be a long process. Our team, along with Chief Arthur's team, are going to be in the neighborhood working through this incident, I'm sure, into the night and tomorrow. So we just ask for your patience. We will be updating the media and the public via our social media platforms. Should we need to do another press conference, we'll notify you through our pro team and our social media outlets. But at this time, we are not planning a follow-up press conference. But if that changes, we'll be sure to let you know. Anything else before we go?
Do you have any specifics on what type of damage those 3 homes did receive? Were there any fires involved with the homes?
Sure. I'll let Chief Arthur let you address that.
There was a small amount of fire. A majority of it was from the actual plane that went down. Fortunately, like I had mentioned before, there wasn't a tremendous amount of damage to these 3 homes. It did displace them, so they are, again, working with Red Cross to get assistance moving down. That's going to be impacted for several weeks. But as far as fire in the actual residence, no. Fortunately, that was all contained to the actual aircraft involved.
And were they displaced because of damage to the home?
Correct.
Or because of the location of the crash?
The damage to the home.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.